Today we begin chapter 10, which is our first chapter of geometry. So this is really exciting. We are going to first discover the area of parallelograms and how we understand what area is. It's different from perimeter in that the perimeter is the edges, the area is everything inside. All right, so our essential question, how can you find the area of parallelograms? The area of a figure is the number of square units needed to cover it without any gaps or overlap. The area of a rectangle is the product of the length and the width. Product meaning multiplication, right? Of the length and the width. The rectangle shown has an area of 12 square units. For a rectangle with a length L and a width W, and we write that formula as area equals length times width, or area equals, and this is also length times width. If remembering from our previous chapters, if a coefficient and a variable or two variables are right next to each other, that means they're being multiplied. All right, so let's talk about that for just a second here. So perimeter, I think of it as a fence and a lawn. That's how I remember. So perimeter is the fence line. It's the outside edge. So perimeter, is like a fence around a yard. Perimeter equals the fence around your yard. The area, on the other hand, is the grass. It's all the stuff on the inside. So this is our area. So let's go ahead and put this in our notes too. So this is the area. And I have to visualize things to understand what's going on in math. So the area of the grass here is 12. It's the same as the area equals length times width. So area equals, let's go with 4 times 3. So area equals 12 in this case. Oops, sorry, knocked that. All right, and if we just count the squares, we're going to come up with 12 also. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's where that 12 comes from. It's 4 times 3. Okay, now we're going to move on to parallelograms. Remember that a rectangle is a special type of parallelogram. A parallelogram is a quadrilateral, meaning 4 sides. Quad means 4. Like a quad, if you ride an ATV and you call it a quad, that means it has 4 wheels. So quad means 4. So a quadrilateral is 4 sides with 2 pairs of parallel lines. Parallel means they're straight across from each other. And if they went on forever into the future, they'd never run into each other. Kind of like railroad tracks. No matter how far the railroad tracks go, these 2 tracks never cross each other. And that's what parallel means. They never cross each other, no matter how long they are. All right. Here we go. So Victoria is making a quilt. She's using material in the shape of parallelograms to form a pattern. So there's a whole bunch of little parallelograms that she's making in her quilt. The base of each parallelogram measures 9 centimeters and the height measures 4 centimeters. What is the area of each parallelogram? This little red parallelogram right there, they want to know what the area is, how much of the space it's going to cover. All right, so we're going to start this activity, and it says, okay, so we're going to figure out the area of a rectangle to find the area of a parallelogram, because finding the area of a rectangle was really easy, wasn't it? We just, the length times the width, and we knew exactly what the area was. It was 12 up here. But a parallelogram, that doesn't look so simple. We've got 9 for our base, 4 for our height. So how do we figure this one out? Because it doesn't appear to be the same. All right, so we're going to draw a parallelogram on grid paper, and then we're going to cut it out. So we're going to take a piece of grid paper, and let's see. So our parallelogram was 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 across. And then it's what? 1, 2, 3 spaces over. Okay, and 4 high. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3 spaces over. All right, so 9 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so we've got the 2 bases that are 9. And then we connect the lines, making sure that they're parallel so that they never cross. And then we do a little dashed line here. And this symbol right here means it's perpendicular, which is the opposite of parallel. Parallel means it never crosses. Perpendicular means it crosses at a 90-degree angle, a perfectly straight line going straight up and down from this. Okay, so we've got our parallelogram, and this was 4 centimeters high, and this was 9 centimeters. Right, yes. Okay, and I jumped ahead, and I've already cut mine out. Okay, so I've got my little shape here. Watch this trick. If I cut along this dashed line straight up, and I attach it over here, check it out. I've got a perfect, if my lines and my cutting were absolutely perfect, I have a perfect rectangle now. So a parallelogram, the same, how do I say this correctly? The formula to find the area of a rectangle can be also used to find the area of a parallelogram, because it is the same dimension. So this used to be over here. We cut it off, put it over here, and it's just a rectangle. So the same area formula is going to work for just a regular rectangle and this unusually shaped parallelogram. All right. So let's see, cut along the dashed line to remove the triangle, move the triangle to the right side of the figure to form a rectangle. We've done all that. Okay, so now what is the area of the rectangle? So remember, area equals length times width. So area equals 4 times 9, which equals 36 centimeters squared. What is the area of the parallelogram? Well, guess what? It's also 36 centimeters squared. In fact, let's prove it right here. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. There's 36 squares in my parallelogram, so it is 36 centimeters squared. All right. And finally, the base of the parallelogram equals, is the same. The base of the parallelogram is the same of the rectangle, equals the base of the rectangle. The height of the parallelogram equals the height of the rectangle, and the area of the parallelogram equals the area of the rectangle. So for a parallelogram with base B and height A, or height H, area equals base times the height. So the area of the parallelogram is the base times the height, is 9 times 4, 9 centimeters times 4 centimeters, which equals 36 squared centimeters, or 36 centimeters squared. It's the same thing. So the area of each parallelogram in the quilt is 36 centimeters squared. So one of the things you need to remember is they're going to give you two different formulas for the same idea. So they've already done that. They gave you area equals length times width, and now area equals base times height. Well, guess what? They're the same. They're synonymous. There's no difference between these two. So keep that in mind with your, when you see them in the future, they're the exact same thing. There's no difference. All right, here we go. Here we go. All right. Use area equals base times height to find the area of the parallelogram. So here we have 6.3 meters is our base. Our height is 2.1 meters. So that would be 6.3 meters times 2.1. Whoops, they didn't put the meters in, so I won't either. But we need to include them at the end. 6.3 times 2.1, multiply them together, and I get 6, 12, 3, 1323. It's an unusual number. 1323. Am I done? No, because I've got decimals in the original multiplication problem. So I have 2 digits behind the decimal, so I need to move the decimal over 2 digits. So 13.23 meters squared. So think about this logically. 6, if I rounded these, 6 times 2 is 12. So my answer should be in the ballpark of 12. It should not be 1,323. That's not logical. 13 is pretty close to 12, so this is right. So the area of the parallelogram is 13.23, or 13 23/100 square meters, which is how this is the same thing as this. They're synonymous. All right, a square is a special rectangle. A square, you guys know what a square is. It's a special rectangle where all 4 sides are the same length and the widths are equal. And a square with a side length S is equivalent to area equals length times width, right? Because we've got, let's see, width and length here. And that's the same as with a square. That's the same as side times side, because the sides are exactly the same in order for it to be a square. Rectangles have different side lengths. Squares do not. So you can use this formula for just for squares. Area equals side squared, side times side, because this is the same as area equals side times side. Now, you don't actually have to do this. They are going to throw it at you right here. But this is the exact same thing as area equals base times height. So you can always default to area equals base times height. Whenever you see area equals length times width, that equals base times height. When you see area equals s squared for a square, that's the same as base times height. You really only have to remember this one formula. All right, so write the formula. Substitute 9.5 for s squared, which is the same as, so this is 9.5 squared because it's the same as 9.5 times 9.5. So now I need to do a little margin work because I don't know 9.5 times 9.5 off the top of my head. I do know it's going to be about 81, somewhere between 81 and 100. Okay, so I've got 5 times 5 is 25. Regroup the 2. That's, 45, 47. Placeholder 0. 9 times 5 is 45. Regroup the 4. 81 plus 4 is 85. 5, 12, 10, I get 90, and the decimal goes there because I have 2 digits behind the decimal. So 2 digits have to be behind the decimal. Whoops, my answer is not on here. So 2 digits have to be behind the decimal in my final answer also. So this is 90.25 centimeters squared. So I wish they wouldn't throw quite so many formulas at you in the exact same lesson. This is the one you have to remember. Area equals base times height. All right. A parallelogram has an area of 98 square feet and a base of 14 feet. What is the height of the parallelogram? 98 square feet. Okay. So we know the area now. So that's what's different this time. We don't know what the height is anymore. So if you go with our area equals base times height, we have to put a number in for the A now because we don't know the H. All right, so replace the A and the B with their values. So area equals 98. Base equals 14. But we don't know this. We don't know the height. So we're going to solve for the H. And the way that you do that is we need to isolate the variable. So if you go back up here, the variable A is already isolated. The B and the H are being multiplied together. The A is all by itself on that side of the equal sign. So we need to go over here. We need to get that H all by itself. So we've got to get rid of that B. The B is a problem because we need the H all by itself. So we need to get that B over here. The way that we do that is through division. So we have 98 equals 14 times H. Now I'm going to divide by 14 on both sides, and that's going to get my H all by itself because 14 divided by 14 is a 1, right? 98 divided by 14 would be 6. No. 14 times 7? let's try 14 times 7 because it ends in an 8. So 7 times 4 is 28. Look at that, it worked. So 98 divided by 14 is 7. Now the h is by itself, and so our solution is 7. So the height of the parallelogram is 7 feet. All right, nice. Notice it's not squared because area is squared. This is not squared, this is not squared. This, the area, is squared. Okay, let's do one more here. All right, area equals base times height. You can use this formula for every one of them. If they throw other formulas at you for squares or for rectangles, you can go back to this one, it'll still work. Okay, area equals 8.3, because that's our base, times 1.2, because that's our height. So the area equals, okay, think about it logically. The answer is going to be pretty close to 8, because 8 times 1 is 8. So we've got 6, 16, we have 3, whoops, my brain got ahead there. All right, now we add them up. We get 699. We have 2 digits behind the decimal here, so the decimal should have gone there instead of where I put it to begin with. Okay, so it's 9 and 9600. It's pretty close to 10, but it's in the ballpark of 8. So this is 9.96 meters squared. That's basically all you're doing. The only thing that's a little bit challenging is when they give you the area instead, and you have to solve for, in this case, the height. It looks like they're doing it over here too. So you want to isolate the h just like we did in the last one. All right. Let's take a look at our notes for 10.1. I'm going to glue my little parallelogram example in there also. Okay, here we go. So we have area of a parallelogram. Rectangles and parallelograms are equal. Area of a rectangle. Area equals length times height or base times width. They are the same. They're synonyms. Area of the parallelogram, you just multiply the base times the height. Parallelograms are, rectangles are a subset of parallelograms. Squares are a subset of rectangles and parallelograms. All of these figures are parallelograms. These are just special ones. So a parallelogram, all 4 sides are parallel. The 2 opposite sides are parallel. With a rectangle, all 4 sides are parallel and there's 4 right angles. With a square, all sides are parallel, just like these other 2. They have 4 right angles, or 90-degree angles, and all the sides are the same length. Okay, but they're all parallelograms. Okay, good luck with your lesson.